The photograph fell out of the old book like a ghost reaching from the past. Vera had been reorganizing the palace library. Her job as junior archivist was mostly boring, filing and dusting and staying invisible when the leather-bound journal tumbled from the top shelf. The photo slipped free and landed face up on the marble floor, and Vera's entire world tilted. The woman in the photo was her. Same copper hair, same green eyes, same small scar above her left eyebrow. But this version of her was different. She was laughing, head thrown back with pure joy, wearing an elegant gown that Vera had never owned. And beside her, with his arm around her waist and his face soft with love, was Alpha King Caden Blackthorn, the most powerful shifter in 5 kingdoms. The man who'd hired Vera 3 months ago without a flicker of recognition. The man who looked at her every day like she was a stranger. Vera's hands shook as she picked up the photo. On the back, written in elegant script, Caden and Vera mating ceremony 2 years ago. That was impossible. 2 years ago, Vera had been living in a small human town, working at a bookstore, convinced she was human. She had no memories before that. The doctors said it was trauma-induced amnesia, an accident she couldn't remember. Normal, they'd said. It would come back eventually. But this photo said different. This photo said she'd been the Alpha King's mate. And somehow, impossibly, she'd forgotten everything. Vera heard footsteps in the corridor and shoved the photo into her pocket. She was probably breaking a dozen archival rules, but she didn't care. She needed to understand, needed to know why the man in this photo, the man who looked at her with such love, now treated her like a stranger. She worked the rest of her shift on autopilot, her mind racing. When evening came and the library emptied, she pulled out the photo again and studied it carefully. The background was the palace's ceremonial hall. The decorations were silver and gold, and around her neck in the photo was a mark, a mating bite, clearly visible above her collar. Vera touched her own neck. There was no mark there now, just smooth skin. But under her collarbone, hidden beneath her work shirt, was a scar she'd always had. A strange, deliberate shape that almost looked like it had been burned into her skin. The doctors had said it was from the accident. Looking at the photo now, Vera realized the scar sat exactly where the mating mark would have been. Someone had removed it. Someone had erased the physical proof that she'd been mated to the Alpha King. Miss Hartley? The voice made Vera jump. Beta Marcus stood in the library entrance, his expression carefully neutral. The Alpha King requests your presence in his office. Vera's stomach dropped. She quickly tucked the photo back into her pocket. Why, he didn't say. But you should come now. Vera followed Marcus through the palace corridors, her heart hammering. She'd only been in the Alpha King's office once before, during her job interview. He'd asked her standard questions, reviewed her credentials, hired her without hesitation. And he looked at her the entire time like she was a complete stranger. Marcus knocked and opened the door. Alpha King Caden sat behind a massive desk, reviewing reports. He was stunning, dark hair, silver eyes, a face that could have been carved from marble. Power radiated from him in waves that made even humans nervous. Vera had felt drawn to him from the moment they'd met. An inexplicable pull she'd attributed to his natural alpha presence. Now she wondered if it was something more, something older and deeper and deliberately hidden. Miss Hartley. Caden looked up, and his expression was perfectly professional. Thank you for coming. Please sit. Vera sat, her hand unconsciously touching her pocket where the photo waited. I've been reviewing your work, Caden said. You've been here 3 months, and your organizational system for the archives is exceptional. Far better than your predecessors. Thank you, Alpha King. I'm promoting you to head archivist. The position comes with a raise, expanded duties, and access to the restricted archives. Caden's silver eyes met hers, and for just a moment, Vera thought she saw something flicker there. Recognition? Pain? But it was gone before she could be sure. Do you accept? Yes. Of course. Thank you. Vera's mind was spinning. Access to the restricted archives, where more photos might be, where more truth might be hiding. Good. Marcus will provide you with the new access codes. Caden returned his attention to the reports. That's all. Vera stood, then stopped. The photo burned in her pocket. She should ask, should confront him, should demand to know why he was pretending not to know her. But something in his expression stopped her. Something carefully controlled and deliberately blank. He was hiding something. And if she revealed what she'd found too soon, he might hide it better. Alpha King? She said carefully. Have we met before? Before my interview, I mean? Caden went very still. No, why do you ask? I feel like I've been here before. In the palace. Like I'm remembering something I shouldn't remember. The palace has been here for centuries. Perhaps you saw pictures. His voice was perfectly level. Or perhaps your amnesia is resolving. The mind can play tricks when memories return. Perhaps. Vera held his gaze. Thank you again for the promotion. She left before he could respond. In the corridor, her hands shook. He'd lied. Smoothly, professionally lied. Which meant he knew exactly who she was. Knew they'd been mated. And for some reason, he wanted her to stay in the dark. The question was why. Vera spent the next week exploring the restricted archives with her new access. She found more photos, more evidence. A guest list for a mating ceremony with her name on it. Reports about the Alpha King's mate going missing. Search parties. Investigations. And then, 3 months ago, a single line in the palace records. Vera Hartley hired as junior archivist. She found medical records too. Not hers. She'd checked her own file and found nothing unusual. But there were heavily redacted reports about memory manipulation, about magical procedures that could erase specific memories, about the risks and side effects. Someone had deliberately erased her memories, had removed her mating mark, had placed her in a job at the palace where Caden could watch her without revealing the truth. The question was still why. Vera dug deeper, found journals written in a flowing script she somehow knew was her own, even though she didn't remember writing them. Read about her life before the memory wipe. She'd been a scholar, studying ancient pack magic. She'd met Caden at an academic conference. They'd been friends first, then lovers, then mates. And she'd been investigating something that had scared her enough to document everything, to hide evidence, to prepare for the possibility that someone might try to silence her. The last journal entry was dated 2 years and 3 months ago, the day before she supposedly disappeared. I've found proof. The council is corrupt. They've been using forbidden magic to manipulate pack politics for decades. I'm meeting with Elder Silas tonight to get the final piece of evidence. If anything happens to me, if I disappear or my memories are erased, the proof is hidden in the East Tower Library, 3rd shelf, behind the false wall. Caden knows. Caden will help me finish this. I trust him with my life. The entry ended there. And 3 weeks later, according to the palace records, Vera had gone missing. Search parties found nothing. She'd vanished without a trace. Until 3 months ago, when she'd appeared in a human town with no memories and a job application for a junior archivist position that she somehow knew would be accepted. Vera sat in the restricted archives surrounded by evidence of a life she didn't remember, and she felt fury building in her chest. Someone had done this to her, had stolen 2 years of her life, had erased her mate bond, had tried to bury the truth she'd been investigating, and Caden had let them, had gone along with it, had hired her back and pretended not to know her. She needed to know why. The East Tower Library was locked, but Vera's new access codes opened it. The room was small, dusty, clearly unused. She found the 3rd shelf and felt along the wall until her fingers caught on an irregularity. The false panel swung open, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a wooden box, and inside that were documents that made Vera's blood run cold. Financial records showing council members siphoning pack funds. Magical contracts binding pack leaders to obey council orders. Evidence of memory manipulation used on anyone who questioned their authority. Names, dates, proof of decades of corruption. And at the bottom of the box, a small vial of clear liquid labeled memory restoration use only under healer supervision dangerous. Vera stared at the vial. This was it. This was how she could get her memories back. Everything she'd lost, everything that had been stolen from her. but the warning label made her hesitate. Dangerous. She should consult a healer. Should be supervised. I was wondering when you'd find that. Caden's voice came from the doorway. Vera spun, clutching the vial. You knew. This whole time you knew. Yes. He stepped into the room, and his carefully controlled mask finally cracked. She saw pain in his eyes. Grief. Longing. I've known exactly who you are since the moment you walked into my office 3 months ago. Then why didn't you tell me? Because you asked me not to. Caden moved closer, his voice rough. The night before they took you, you came to me. You knew they were coming. Knew they'd try to erase your memories to bury the evidence you'd found. So you asked me to let it happen. That doesn't make sense. Why would I? Because you found a way to protect yourself. Caden gestured to the vial. That potion. You created it. A failsafe. You said if your memories were erased, you'd eventually find your way back here. Find the evidence. Find the truth. And when you did, you'd be able to restore your memories yourself. But you could have just told me no. Caden's voice turned hard. The council has eyes everywhere. Spies in the palace. If they knew you were back, if they knew you remembered even a fraction of what you discovered, they'd kill you for real this time. His hands clenched. They think you're just a random archivist, someone with no connection to the investigation. As long as they believe that, you're safe. Safe. Vera's voice rose. I've spent 3 months walking past you every day while you pretended I was a stranger. I've had nightmares about a life I couldn't remember. I felt like half of me was missing and I didn't know why. You call that safe? I call it alive. Caden's eyes flashed silver. Do you have any idea how hard it's been? Watching you, wanting to touch you, to hold you, to tell you everything? Seeing you look at me like I'm a stranger when you're my mate. My soul. His voice cracked. It's been hell, but it's kept you breathing. And that's all that matters. Vera stared at him. At this man who'd loved her enough to let her go. Who'd endured months of pretending not to know her to keep her safe. The evidence, she said quietly. Can we use it? Can we expose the council? Not yet. We need more. Witnesses willing to testify. Allies who can't be silenced. I've been building a case carefully, quietly, for 2 years. Caden's expression was grim. But with you back, with your memories restored, we'd have the final piece. The eyewitness testimony. The scholar who uncovered it all. Vera looked at the vial in her hands. This will restore everything? All my memories? According to your research, yes. But Vera. Caden stopped himself. You might not want them back. The memories of what the council did, what they tried to do to you, the pain of having your mate bond severed. It won't be pleasant. I don't care about pleasant. I care about truth. Vera met his eyes. And I care about finishing what I started. They stole 2 years of my life. I want them back. All of them. Then let me get the pack healer. Let's do this safely. The healer could be a spy. You said the council has eyes everywhere. Vera uncorked the vial. I trust my own work. I trust that the woman I was knew what she was doing. Vera, wait, she drank the potion before he could stop her. The world exploded. Memories crashed through her mind like a tsunami. Meeting Caden at the conference. Their first kiss. The moment the mate bond snapped into place. Their mating ceremony. 2 years of love and laughter and partnership. And then the investigation. Late nights in libraries. Coded messages. Meeting with informants. The growing horror as she realized how deep the corruption went. How many people the council had hurt. How much power they'd stolen. The last night, knowing they were coming for her. Preparing the failsafe. Caden holding her while she cried. Both of them knowing they might never see each other again. The council's magic wielders breaking down her door. The pain of having her memories ripped away. The agony of the mating bond being severed, not broken, because that would kill them both, but dampened, suppressed, buried so deep she couldn't feel it anymore. Waking up in a human town with no memories and a compulsion to apply for a job at the palace. A compulsion the council had planted, thinking she'd just be another anonymous servant they could watch to make sure she stayed harmless. They'd underestimated her, underestimated the failsafe she'd built. underestimated Caden's willingness to play along. Vera came back to herself on the floor with Caden holding her, his face wet with tears. Vera? God's Vera, please, I remember. Her voice came out hoarse. I remember everything. Caden made a sound between a laugh and a sob. You brilliant, reckless, incredible woman. You actually did it. You built a potion that could undo council magic. I had good motivation. Vera touched his face, feeling the mate bond roar back to life between them. It had always been there, she realized. Just buried, waiting. I knew I'd want to come back to you. I've missed you so much. Caden pressed his forehead to hers. Every day, every moment. Pretending not to know you was the hardest thing I've ever done. Then stop pretending. Vera pulled him into a kiss that tasted like coming home. The mate bond, suppressed for so long, exploded back to full strength. Vera felt Caden's soul intertwine with hers again, felt 2 years of separation collapse into nothing. They were whole again, finally, completely whole. When they pulled apart, both their eyes were glowing. Caden's silver, Vera's emerald green. We need to be careful, Caden said, though he didn't let go of her. If the council finds out you remember, then we make sure they don't find out until it's too late. Vera's voice was steel. I've spent 2 years as a ghost. I'm done hiding, but I'll be smart about it. What are you thinking? I keep working as head archivist. Keep finding evidence. Keep building the case. Vera smiled grimly. But now I know what I'm looking for. I know their tricks. I know how they operate. And I have something they don't know about, a complete set of memories documenting everything they did. They'll be watching you, watching for any sign you remember, then I'll give them what they expect. A dedicated archivist who's maybe starting to remember fragments. Nothing concrete, nothing threatening. Vera met his eyes. And at night, in private, we plan their downfall. Caden studied her face for a long moment. Then he smiled, fierce and proud. You're terrifying. I love you so much. I love you too. Even if you did let me work here for 3 months thinking you were a stranger, you told me to. You specifically said, I know what I said. Vera kissed him again. And I understand why you did it. But I'm still going to give you grief about it for the next 50 years. I'll take it. I'll take anything as long as you're here. Caden pulled her closer. I've got you back. After 2 years of hell, I've actually got you back. They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped around each other, the mate bond humming contentedly. Then Vera pulled back reluctantly. We need to move the evidence. If I found it, someone else could too. Already done. The moment you started working in the restricted archives, I had everything moved to a secure location. Caden smiled slightly. I knew you'd find your way to the truth eventually. You're too smart not to. Where is it now? My private quarters, behind wards that only respond to my blood and yours. He paused. I had a feeling when you restored your memories, you'd want to see all of it. So I made sure it was somewhere safe. Show me. They made their way to Caden's quarters through private passages that avoided the main palace corridors. Vera's body remembered the route even if her conscious mind had forgotten it. This had been her home. Their home. The rooms were exactly as she remembered. Same furniture. Same books on the shelves. Same photos on the walls, including several of her that Caden had apparently kept displayed despite her death. I couldn't take them down, he said quietly, following her gaze. Everyone told me to move on, to accept you were gone, but I knew you were alive. Somewhere, somehow. I felt it through the bond. You could still feel it? Even suppressed? Barely. Like a whisper instead of a shout. But it was there. Caden moved to a bookshelf and pressed a hidden switch. A panel slid open, revealing a small room filled with documents, photos, recordings. Everything you collected. Everything I've added since. It's all here. Vera stepped into the room and felt fury and determination war in her chest. This was it. This was everything they needed to bring down the council, to expose decades of corruption, to free the Pax from their manipulation. How long until we have enough? She asked. Weeks, maybe a month. Caden joined her. I've been working on getting witnesses to agree to testify. People the council has hurt who are willing to speak publicly. With your testimony added, with the evidence you've gathered, we'd have an airtight case. Then we have a month to prepare. To make sure when we move decisively. Vera turned to face him. No half measures. We expose everything. We burn their corruption to the ground. Agreed. Caden pulled her close. But right now, tonight, can we have this? Just us. Just a few hours to remember what it feels like to be together. Vera felt the exhaustion hit her. The emotional whiplash of the day. She'd started this morning as a junior archivist with no past. She was ending it as the Alpha King's mate with 2 years of memories restored and a conspiracy to dismantle. Yes, she whispered. Please, I need to remember this. Remember us. What happened next was private, sacred, between mates only. But when dawn broke and Vera woke wrapped in Caden's arms, she felt stronger than she had in 2 years. Whole, ready. Good morning, Caden murmured, pressing a kiss to her hair. How do you feel? Angry, determined, ready to destroy some corrupt politicians. Vera smiled against his chest. And happy. For the first time since I can remember, actually happy. We're going to have to be careful. Act like nothing's changed. I'm good at acting. I've been doing it for 3 months. Vera sat up. I'll go to work like normal. Keep organizing archives. Keep being the dedicated junior archivist who's maybe starting to remember fragments but nothing concrete. And at night, we plan, we prepare, we make sure when we strike, the council has no chance to escape. Vera's eyes glowed green. They took 2 years of my life. I'm taking everything from them. The next month was a delicate balance. Vera worked during the day, playing her role perfectly. She asked Caden careful questions about palace history. Let slip occasional comments that suggested fragmented memories returning. Nothing that would alarm the council spies, but enough to seem natural for someone with trauma-induced amnesia. At night, she and Caden worked in secret. Vera cross-referenced her old research with Caden's new evidence. They identified witnesses, built timelines, documented every instance of corruption they could prove. The case grew stronger every day, and Vera felt the mate bond grow stronger too. 2 years of separation being slowly healed. 2 years of stolen time being reclaimed in stolen moments. I used to dream about you, Caden said one night as they reviewed documents. Every night for 2 years. Dreams where you came back, where you remembered, where we got to finish what we started. I dreamed too. I didn't remember them when I woke up, but I dreamed. Vera took his hand. I think part of me always knew, always remembered on some level that I belonged here. With you. You do belong here. Always have. Always will. 3 weeks into their preparation, they got a break. Elder Silas, the man Vera had been meeting the night she was taken, reached out through a secure channel. He'd been in hiding for 2 years, terrified the council would silence him the way they'd silenced Vera. But he'd heard rumors she was alive, working at the palace. The meeting was arranged carefully. Vera and Caden met him in a safe house outside packed territory, with trusted guards keeping watch. Silas looked older than Vera remembered, haunted, but when he saw her, relief flooded his face. You're alive. Thank the goddess, you're actually alive. Barely. Vera gestured to a chair. They erased my memories, tried to bury the investigation, but I found my way back. Then you're ready to finish this? To expose them? More than ready. But we need your testimony. You were the council's accountant for 40 years. You have access to records no one else could provide. Silas pulled a flash drive from his pocket. Everything. Every financial manipulation. Every illegal contract. Every pack leader they've blackmailed or controlled. It's all here. Caden took the drive with reverence. This is it. This is the final piece. What happens now? Silas asked. Now we call a grand council meeting. Mandatory attendance for all pack leaders in the kingdom. Caden's expression was grim. We present the evidence publicly, give them no chance to hide or manipulate, and we let the packs decide what happens to corrupt council members. They'll fight back. They have magic, resources, connections, and we have the truth. Vera's voice was steel. The truth and enough evidence to bury them. They can fight all they want. They've already lost. The Grand Council meeting was set for 2 weeks later. Caden sent out the mandatory summons, citing matters of urgent kingdom business. The council members tried to get details to find out what was happening, but Caden gave them nothing. Vera spent those 2 weeks preparing her testimony, reviewing every document, memorizing every fact. She would stand in front of hundreds of pack leaders and tell them exactly what the council had done, what they'd done to her, what they'd done to countless others. The night before the meeting, she stood in front of a mirror practicing her speech. Caden watched from the doorway. "You're going to be brilliant," he said. "I'm terrified." "That's because you're smart enough to know what's at stake." He moved behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "But Vera, you've already survived the worst they could do. You had your memories erased, your mate bond severed, 2 years of your life stolen, and you came back from all of it. You're the strongest person I know. What if they don't believe me?" "They'll believe you. We have documentation, witnesses, financial records, magical signatures. The evidence is overwhelming." Caden pressed a kiss to her temple. "And even if some don't believe at first, enough will. Enough to force change. Enough to end this." Vera turned in his arms. "Promise me something?" "Anything. If this goes wrong, if they somehow turn it around on us, promise me you'll keep fighting. Promise me you won't let them bury the truth again. It's not going to go wrong, promise me." Caden looked at her for a long moment. Then he cupped her face in his hands. "I promise. But Vera, you need to promise me something too. Promise me you'll stay safe, that you won't take unnecessary risks, that you'll remember you're not alone anymore. I promise." They sealed the promises with a kiss that tasted like trust and hope, and 2 years of stolen tomorrows finally being reclaimed. The Grand Council hall was packed. Every pack leader from 5 kingdoms. Hundreds of witnesses. The council members sat in their designated seats, looking confident. They had no idea what was coming. Vera stood backstage with Caden, her heart hammering. "Last chance to back out," he said softly. "Not a chance." Vera squeezed his hand. "Let's finish this." Caden stepped onto the stage first, his presence commanding instant silence. "Thank you all for coming. I know mandatory summons are unusual, but the matter we're addressing today affects every pack in the kingdom." He paused. "For decades, we've trusted our council to guide us, to make decisions in the best interest of all shifters. Today, I'm here to show you that trust was misplaced." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The council members shifted uncomfortably. 2 years ago, a scholar discovered evidence of council corruption, financial manipulation, magical coercion, systematic abuse of power. Caden's voice was hard. The council's response was to erase her memories and make her disappear. They thought they'd buried the truth. They were wrong. He gestured, and Vera stepped onto the stage. The reaction was immediate. Gasps, shouts. The council members went pale. Elder Thorne, the council leader, stood abruptly. "This is absurd. That woman disappeared 2 years ago. How do we know this isn't an imposter? DNA test confirmed yesterday." Caden's voice was ice. "This is Vera Hartley, scholar, investigator, my mate, and the woman you tried to silence." Vera moved to the microphone. Her hands were steady. Her voice was clear. 2 years ago, I discovered that the council was using forbidden magic to manipulate pack politics. I found evidence of financial fraud, blackmail, and magical coercion spanning decades. When I tried to expose it, the council sent magic wielders to erase my memories and sever my mate bond. She touched the scar on her collarbone. "This is where my mating mark used to be. They burned it off, tried to erase every trace that I'd been the Alpha King's mate. Then they planted a compulsion to make me apply for a job at the palace where they could watch me, make sure I stayed harmless." "Lies," Elder Thorne shouted. "She has no proof." "I have mountains of proof." Vera nodded, and the screens behind her lit up. Financial records, magical contracts, testimony from Elder Silas, names, dates, amounts, everything. 40 years of corruption, 40 years of you treating the packs like your personal treasury. 40 years of controlling pack leaders through blackmail and magic. The hall erupted. Pack leaders shouting. Council members trying to defend themselves. Guards moving to contain the chaos. Caden's alpha command cut through the noise. Silence. The hall went quiet. The evidence will be distributed to every pack leader here. You'll have 3 days to review it. At the end of those 3 days, we'll vote on whether the council members should face trial. Caden's eyes blazed silver. This isn't a dictatorship. This is a democracy. The packs will decide. Over the next 3 days, Vera watched pack leaders review the evidence. Some were skeptical at first, but the documentation was overwhelming. The witnesses were credible, and Vera's own testimony backed by medical records showing her memories had been magically altered was damning. On the 3rd day, the vote was unanimous. All council members would face trial for corruption, magical assault, and attempted murder. The trial would be public. The evidence would be made available to all packs, and the verdicts would be decided by a jury of pack leaders, not the council itself. The trials took 2 months. Vera testified for hours, walking through every piece of evidence, every instance of corruption. Other witnesses came forward: pack members who'd been blackmailed, leaders who'd been controlled, wolves whose memories had been altered. By the end, the council's guilt was undeniable. The sentences were severe. All council members stripped of their positions and magic. Exile for the lesser offenders. Prison for those who directly ordered magical attacks. And for Elder Thorn, who'd orchestrated the attempt on Vera's life, execution. Vera watched the sentences handed down and felt something finally settle in her chest. Justice. Not perfect, not complete, but real. Afterward, Caden found her on the palace balcony. "It's over," he said quietly. "It's actually over, is it?" Vera leaned against the railing. "The council's gone, but the damage they did, that's going to take years to fix. Decades maybe, then we have decades to work on it." Caden wrapped his arms around her from behind. Together, the way it should have been all along. Vera turned to face him. "I want my mating mark back. The real one, not just the scar they left. Are you sure? The ceremony, the bonding, it'll be just as intense as the first time. I want it. I want the physical proof that I'm yours and you're mine. I want everyone to see it." Vera smiled. "I want to reclaim everything they tried to take from me. Then we'll do it. Proper ceremony. Our families. Our pack." Caden pressed his forehead to hers. "We'll do everything right this time." The mating ceremony was a month later. Not as elaborate as the first one. They'd both agreed they didn't need the pageantry. Just family, close friends, and the pack members who'd supported them through everything. Vera wore a simple silver dress. Caden wore traditional Alpha regalia. And when they stood before the pack elder and renewed their vows, Vera felt the mate bond blaze back to full strength. "I've loved you for years," Caden said. 2 years together, 2 years apart. "And I'll love you for the rest of our lives." "They tried to erase me," Vera replied. "Tried to make me forget who I was, what I'd found, who I loved. But I came back. I remembered. And I'm never forgetting again." When Caden bit down and the new mating mark appeared on her neck, Vera felt complete, whole, free from the last shadows of what had been done to her. The pack howled their approval, and Vera knew finally, truly knew that she was home. 2 years later, Vera stood in the rebuilt council chambers with her hand resting on her pregnant belly. The new council, elected by pack leaders, with term limits and oversight, was in session. She watched as they debated policy and territory agreements with transparency that would have been unthinkable under the old regime. Feeling nostalgic, Caden appeared at her side. Feeling satisfied, Vera smiled. "We actually did it. We reformed the entire system. You did it. I just helped." Caden put his hand over hers on her belly. "How's our pup?" "Active. Keeps kicking like they're trying to break out early. Takes after their mother." Stubborn and determined, Caden kissed her temple. "Come on, let's get you home. You should rest. I'm pregnant, not broken, I know. But humor me. I've spent 4 years terrified of losing you. Let me be overprotective." Vera laughed and let him lead her out. They walked through the palace corridors hand in hand, past the library where she'd first found the photo, past the archives where she'd uncovered the truth. Do you ever wish things had been different? Caden asked quietly. That we just had a normal life without all the conspiracy and memory loss and danger. No, Vera's answer was immediate. Because normal wouldn't have shown me how strong we are, how strong I am. I survived having my memories erased and came back anyway. We survived 2 years of forced separation and found our way back to each other. That's not normal. That's extraordinary. You're extraordinary. We're extraordinary, Vera corrected. Together, they reached their quarters, truly theirs now, not just his. Vera had moved back in officially after the mating ceremony, had reclaimed her space in his life and his home. She looked around at the photos on the walls, some from their first mating ceremony, some from the second, some from the trials. Visual proof of everything they'd survived. I'm going to tell our pup this story someday, she said. When they're old enough to understand, I'm going to tell them about the corruption we exposed, the memories I had stolen, the way we fought our way back to each other. Think they'll believe us? I think they'll understand that sometimes the truth is worth fighting for, even when it costs everything, even when it takes everything from you. Vera touched the mating mark on her neck. And I think they'll understand that some bonds can't be broken, not by magic, not by time, not by anything. Caden pulled her close. I love you. For 4 years, for forever, through everything. I love you too. Even when I couldn't remember your name, I loved you. That's how deep this goes. They stayed like that as the sun set over the kingdom they'd helped reform. 2 souls that had been torn apart and stitched themselves back together through sheer determination. 2 people who'd refused to let corruption and cruelty win. The Alpha King and his mate, together again. Finally, completely, perfectly whole. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Where are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. I love hearing your thoughts. And if you'd like to support me, please subscribe. It's free and it helps more people hear these stories.